Alright, so in the past lesson we explored the stack method, which moved an index from the columns axis to the rows axis, and now we'll look at the unstack method, which predictably does the reverse. So I'm going to execute my code from the last lesson to load our world stats CSV, and at the beginning it looked like this, and just to make this example a little bit more potent, I'm actually going to call the stack method first to basically create that series that we had in the last lesson. So if I do world.stack, as a reminder, that's going to move this column's index over here. It's going to keep stacking indexes. You can think of it that way. And so this is going to be our brand new three-level multi-index series. I'm going to store this in a variable called s, just a simple variable name for a series. So here's our new multi-index series. So now we can go ahead and show you how unstack works. So predictably, here's my S series. I'm going to call the unstack method, and at this point it's basically going to do the reverse of what we just did. It's going to take this population GDP. It's always going to go to the most inner layer, to the kind of the most deepest index within that multi-index, the kind of the deepest layer, which is our third one here, and it's going to move it to the columns axis. So when I execute this, you'll see that we're basically going to get back to our original data frame. It's going to take this and move it up here. Well, as it turns out, as long as you have a multi-index, you can keep calling the unstack method. This is a brand new data frame, so it's still going to have an unstack method. So what I'm going to do is continue method chaining. So I'm going to call another unstack method, and then once again it's going to take the most inner layer, which is this one, the year one, and now it's going to move it again to the columns. Now, as you're going to discover, the columns, like any index, like the rows index, can also have multi-indexes. So predictably, it's now going to create a multi-index in my columns section. So let's take a look. So now you can see what's going to happen is it's going to have a multi-index column structure. We have population here, and we have the year as the second layer of my columns multi-index. And if I scroll down to the right here, you see that it concludes with GDP here on the right and then repeats all of those years as well. But we're still not done. Even though we now are back to a kind of a regular data frame with a single index here to the left, which is our countries, we can still call unstack. And what that's going to do is move that very last layer right here again to the columns axis. So now we're going to basically get a series again, but it's now been essentially reversed. We're going to have population here, the year, and then the country, and then those values. So we've basically just shifted and kind of rotated the data frame around such that the most outer layer here, you can see it starts with population and then GDP, and then it proceeds to the year and the country and then the actual value for that. So basically now we have essentially a series again, a three-layer series, but it's been reversed. It's basically been kind of shifted around. So you can combine unstack and stack until you really get your data set to the basic shape that you want it. You can have things like multi-index row indexes and then multi-index column indexes. You can have one or the other. It really depends on how you want to stack the data in order to present it in its final product. But that's a quick introduction to the unstack method, and we're actually going to introduce and continue playing around with this method in the next lesson, where we're going to explore some of the additional arguments that we can feed to the unstack method to alter how it operates in the transfer of those indexes from the rows to the columns.